Warmest greetings to all of you who are taking the time to stop and watch this missive. I do pray that today finds you both well and blessed in the care of the Lord. And unlike many of the other messages that I have done here or on general social media or even in physical church houses, I strongly felt the need to break this topic up into an 11 message series of shorter than normal message, but more focused devotions. If God leads me into any other ideas, I would, of course, put them out as well during the time of getting these out. But the core of this devotional series revolves around a topic that can seem a bit controversial in today's world, and that is the Ten Commandments. Yep, I called them out, the Ten Commandments. This message is going to be to introduce the topic, and then we will go a bit deeper on each of them separately during the messages. Whereas I'm sure that a majority of you have probably heard of the biblical Ten Commandments, there are always some who really have not, and we all want anyone who has never heard about things that are all about God's Word to be able to learn all they can about it and make an informed choice for Him. The original versions, if you'll accept that term, can be located either in the book of Exodus, chapter 20, or the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 5. I labeled them as the originals here because Jesus gave us a summarized but still extremely accurate version of all 10 of them in the form of two commandments. You could locate where he was speaking on these in either Matthew chapter 22 or Mark chapter 12. For years now, countries all about our world have been looking for ways or actually banning the Holy Bible, God's God's word, whether they're doing it completely or by removing reminders of it from public sight and or banning the parts that they deem offensive from being uttered or being made visible by the people who believe. Here in the United States, it has been a pretty well known fight to remove God from a great many standard activities in our lives. And in regards to our topic, to have the images, plaques, monuments that bear the Ten Commandments upon them removed from public locales. But that leads me to ask, just what exactly is so offensive that the Ten Commandments must go? Don't steal. Wow, do any of us really like someone stealing our stuff? Don't lie. Okay, well, how many of us just enjoy discovering that we were or we are being lied to? Don't commit adultery. So restrain our sexual activity to between ourselves and our spouse? Well, who really likes finding out their partner cheated on them? Or that their loved one got raped because somebody couldn't keep themselves in check? Or say, take all that fornicating going on, all that sex outside of marriage going on out of the equation, and I'm willing to bet you that the drive for abortions would horrendously decrease. How about no murder? Does anyone really like their loved one to become dead simply because of the whims of some selfish, uncaring person? It's highly doubtful on any of them that we would enjoy being on the receiving end of seeing such done to others or even to ourselves. So then, really, what is the mighty bad thing with them that they're not wanted in sight? Perhaps it has to do with some behind the scenes angle. Like, try this quote out from a man who had integrity honor, and wisdom, and who did fear the Lord. And I cite Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. How does one determine when a law is just or unjust? A just law is a man-made code that squares, that aligns with moral law or the law of God. An unjust code is one that is out of harmony with moral law. To put it in the terms of St. Thomas Aquinas, an unjust law is a human law that is not rooted in eternal or natural law. And that was Martin Luther King speaking that. So this is going to be the issue most likely behind the worldly push to get the things of God, especially things that show his expectations for us, out of sight. Satan does not want them, and as a result, those who do bow to his will and do as he likes will definitely not want them. After all, they're going to be reminders of God's fixed points of morality. His eternal and universal standards for what is good and evil, and for what is right and wrong, and as such is going to offend them, although in truth, convict is the proper word. Those who wish to live off the self-centered behaviors rather than living for that which should be done in the correct manners are not going to like seeing it. Well, our nation and our world are allowing themselves to be taken for a ride, literally, by Satan down a bunch of paths that flaunt our sinful behaviors and openly reject and rebel against God and his true righteousness to a greater degree than many of even our today, great-grandparents would have ever believed possible to see. That's why those 10 commandments, they just gotta go in the Worldly Sides book. As long as reminders of God's standards remain around to be able to have something to compare man-made laws, actions, things to them, the longer that the devil still has to deal with more resistance to the trash that he is trying to push on society. Not to mention those who are profiting by embracing Satan's methodologies to gain power, gain wealth, fame, or authority would indeed be uneasy if the masses were reminded of true right and wrong and could potentially stand to hold them accountable for the correct way. It really doesn't even matter which country in our world you live in. God's laws automatically trump human-made laws. Whether it is a law or a rule that is handed down by a government, guidelines for your school or your workplace, or one of the rules that you make for your own home's do's and don'ts. The proper authority is God and his standards. A rule that does not follow godly principles or contradicts what is in his word needs to be changed or done away with. We can't allow ourselves to forget the 10 Commandments, well, because Jesus did indeed fulfill them when he came, meaning he completed them. And any of you who are like me, being a Gentile, which means a non-Jewish believer, were never under them as laws because the covenant was made with Moses and Abraham and all the descendants there. So it came through the nation. It was specific to them. But with the laws had like a sting of death to them. You did this or you're going to be dead. You did this or you're going to be punished by being stoned. We were never behind that to begin with because we were Gentiles. But we have to be fully aware that they are still valid as guides for the way that our behavior should go, as every last one of them demonstrates the things that are and are not pleasing to the Lord our God, depending on how we handle ourselves. God is very pleased when we do not follow idols, when we do not use his name in vain, when we are content with what we have instead of desiring everything that our neighbors have. If any one of us proclaims to others that we do claim the name of Christ, then that's exactly the pattern of behavior that God desires for us to accept and to follow, the ones that are indeed pleasing unto him. And as the Bible states in 2 Timothy 3, verses 16 and 17, all, key word at the start, all scriptures is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, what you decide to follow, for reproof, expressing blame or disapproval on things, for correction, we all do things wrong and need to be told to get it right, and for instructions in righteousness, so that we may do our best possible, that the man of God may be complete and thoroughly equipped for every good work. I'm going to wrap this message up with a stated reminder of what the Ten Commandments are. Because after some research, and I've actually tried this on subgroups by asking various ages of churchgoers, hey, what are the Ten Commandments? I was actually surprised at how much difficulty that many modern day believers seem to have at citing all 10 of them off, even when you don't require them to go in order 1 to 10. In Matthew 22:34 through 38, Jesus cited a response in questioning put to him that the greatest commandment is basically loving God with everything you got, your heart, your soul, your mind. That actually sums up the first 4 of the 10 commandments, as all 4 of those are dealing with which is any given human being's, relationship with God the Father in heaven. I will be using the Exodus chapter 20 passage for where I got the commandments and where I was reading them. All of them are in the first part of that chapter. You go read them yourself. First commandment, I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself any idols. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Remember the Sabbath day. Keep it holy. Now then, let's switch back over to the Matthew 22 reference. In verses 39 through 42, Jesus again spoke, still continuing that answer that he was giving, that the second greatest commandment was like the first one. Love your neighbors as yourself. And there's ample evidence all throughout the Bible that when the word neighbors is used, he's not meaning just, hey man, the house down on the right next door on the same block you are, or in the same apartment building, the different homes, the different apartments on the same floor as you are. No, it gives ample evidence that they are anyone that we are sharing this planet with, any other human being we encounter. They're our neighbors. That is dealing with how we interact with the other humans who are all around us. Exactly what the last 6 of the 10 commandments cover in our actions before God, our interactions with humans. 5, honor your father and your mother. 6, you shall not commit murder. 7, you shall not commit adultery. 8, you shall not steal. 9, you shall not lie. And 10, you shall not covet what others have. As I begin to put forth these devotional messages that I've been feeling led to do in order to help others gain a better and more thorough understanding on how they are truly still active and important and what they do mean to us during this modern day, I'm praying that you'll check out each one in turn, as I already know God will be there to help me keep the facts straight and to make sure that that which I prepare as I'm getting ready to do these on His behalf, that they will be something that you can learn from and grow in knowledge and wisdom. May God help each and every one of us use these words of wisdom to become more like Jesus and to stand strong, refusing to become as the world is. May God bless each of you, and I pray that y'all have a great day.